Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. Quite a busy news day ahead of us, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. The Federal Reserve Board is developing a new real-time payment and settlement service. The platform, being called the FedNow service, is designed to leverage technology that is more efficient and secure than existing infrastructure. Its purpose is to enable Federal Reserve banks to offer around-the-clock payments in the United States with a focus on speed, efficiency, and security. The near instantaneous transfer of funds will be available 7 days a week, 365 days a year, offering a key advantage over traditional banks that stop processing transactions on the weekends, which is always the dumbest part of banks. The Fed, which provides payments and settlement services to over 10,000 financial institutions across the country, says its FedNow service will benefit all Americans with faster payments. This was said by Federal Reserve Board Governor Lael Brainerd. He said, "Everyone deserves the same ability to make and receive payments immediately and securely, and every bank deserves the same opportunity to offer this service to its community. FedNow will permit banks of every size and every community across the country to provide real-time payments to their customers," end quote. Just a little side note. I mentioned before, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people pay attention to it, but for those who aren't paying attention to it, always make sure to pay attention, always, to the phrasing that people use. Everyone deserves the same ability to make and receive payments immediately and securely. This was not what banks were saying a couple of years ago. Banks still don't actually care about poor people or people who just simply don't apply to them, if that kind of makes any sense. So I think all of this, everything that we've been talking about the last couple of months, whenever it pertains to a bank, a payment system, the Fed, the IMF, anything, I think that they understand more so than other people that cryptocurrencies are here to stay and that they have to do something. Even remember a couple, like 2 years ago, no. It was even earlier than that. I think sometime this year, I think the head of, I want to say Visa. I'm thinking the name Visa. He was at a meeting or something like that, and he said he didn't see the need or the reason for payments to be any faster. He's like, well, it takes about a day or two. Isn't that enough for people? They don't really care about the actual what happens with customers or consumers. They care that something else could replace them, and this is why they end up changing their ways, if that kind of makes any sense. In 2015, the Fed launched the Faster Payments Task Force to improve the U.S. payment system. It lists an extensive roster of participants in the payment industry who are leading the steering committee, including Bankers Bank, Consumers Union, the Clearing House, Ripple, and U.S. Bank. In the race against global competitors who are transforming the payment industry, the real-time interbank gross clearing and settlement service was originally targeting a 2020 launch date. That challenge is increasingly escalating with tech giants like Facebook entering the payment industry with digital currency projects such as Libra. So here's the actual notice right here from the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Delivering fast payments to all. This was posted yesterday directly on their website. Here's something else from the Federal Reserve, fedpaymentsimprovement.org, where they also listed that they are trying to target a 2020 launch. This was listed in 2017 about them trying to actually do this. One of the most interesting parts that I think has not really made it into the minds of other people who haven't been paying attention to it is that every single time that something like this happens, the people from Ripple almost have a direct hand in its movement. And I think this is why, for those of you who watched my very first videos, why I was always so shocked that people, I understand not liking Ripple, I understand not liking so-and-so. I mean, everyone has their own ideologies or ideas about how they feel about things. But to think that Ripple would disappear or that they wouldn't make something of themselves was always kind of weird, especially, I'll try and go through some of the things that we've known for quite a bit of time about the Ripple team and about their usage of cryptocurrencies and all this other stuff and the amount of people who they've been garnering, pushing to their side. This is from 2018. It says, Ripple executive elected to a Federal Reserve task force, which is the same exact task force that we were talking about before, that's used to make quicker and faster payments. And I mentioned this also before. I was like, why would anyone still think that Ripple wouldn't succeed when people on their board of directors are either former SEC heads, probably some CFTC heads as well, former regulators, and people who created cryptocurrency regulations within the United States. I always found it a little weird that people just kind of didn't connect the dots, except for people, like I said, who are already paying attention to Ripple and XRP. Here's an article from 2017. It says the Federal Reserve Task Force, Ripple improves speed and transparency of global payments. Once again, 2017, 2 years later, we had already information from before that the Federal Reserve Task Force had tested and approved Ripple and their technology. And this is where I was, years ago, I used to always say, like, you should clearly see exactly where all of this is going. The United States, even though other people think that they have not, they've definitely been paying attention to the cryptocurrency space for quite a long amount of time. When you have any type of slight threat, and I always wonder exactly what additionally has been going on behind the scenes, as far as if the Federal Reserve had been in contact with Ripple in 2017 to test their product and their so-and-so before Bitcoin had even hit $20,000, this tells me that behind the scenes, there were probably a number of other countries who were already dabbling in cryptocurrencies, trying to figure out other ways to make payments a lot faster. And I guess the Ripple team kind of came forward and made sure that they were the first one in lines when it came to being like, hey, you know, you can actually use our technology. Another one right here from 2016 from the Ripple website is the International Monetary Fund at Davos. They said distributed ledger technology is extremely beneficial. This is Christine Lagarde. I believe she is still the current head of the International Monetary Fund, or I think she might now be the head of the European Central Bank. And she's come out many times directly for Ripple and XRP. She said these things out loud multiple times as well. So the people from the Federal Reserve and the people from the International Monetary Fund, and I guess also to another extent, the people from the European Central Bank, have all come out in support of Ripple and have spoken about them in a positive light, positive manner. And even a lot of times you can definitely find these videos as well. The people from Ripple sitting on a panel, you know, when 3 or 4 people are sitting on the stage and they're answering questions, they're usually on stage with people from the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, or the European Central Bank. And they're always, at all times, constantly praising Ripple and what they've done and how they plan on working with Ripple. To keep all of that in mind, and even more so, if you track all the way back 4 years ago to 2015, it says Ripple Labs member elected to the Federal Reserve team. It's fairly, the speculation is right now that as the Federal Reserve has been working with Ripple for at least 4 years that we know about, that they could be planning on implementing and or using Ripple services in some sort of way. One would logically assume if they've been working together for 4 years, they probably have a close relationship and or friendship, and that Ripple is probably going to be used in some sort of capacity, which then also leads us into the other discussions that we were having before, as far as the 80% of all banks that Ripple is now partnered with in India, the major banks in Japan who are under their power, getting other smaller banks to also use Ripple's technology. And then also the constant indications that we have behind the scenes that Xcurrent has been updated to 4.0, which allows for XRP to actually be used. About 70% of the other banks are also already using Xcurrent, with the other larger whatever portion going to be implementing XRapid in some sort of other way. So what I've thought, and here's been my theory for a little bit of time, I haven't said this out loud, and I think it's kind of kept it to myself. I have a very strong feeling that there's another update, just my feeling, that there's another update or something coming to Xcurrent, XVIA, X something, where the XRP cryptocurrency will be used regardless if a company or a bank has decided to do so. I think in the back end, I feel like there's some sort of way not to get around it, and not any like nefarious thing by the team from Ripple, because at this point they're far too integrated with anything for the major world banks to simply not know what they're doing. But I felt for a while, because of all the updates that we had, for those of you who used to pay attention to the Ripple website, and when they got rid of that one tab that listed all their products, and it simply, I think, only had like one thing because everything was kind of interconnected, I would not be shocked, and I feel like this is definitely going to happen. Something along the way, an update will happen where if a bank is using XVIA to transact value, in some sort of way that behind the scenes, from the back end, XRP will still be used in that moment to actually transact it, even though they're still just using XVIA or XCurrent. I feel like this is going to happen. I don't exactly know how big this is, but I can tell you that it's massive. I think it's a shame that a lot of people still are against Ripple, especially because a lot of people think, oh, they're working with banks. And I'm like, there are many other coins who are actually just as ingrained in banks or trying to get other services to actually use them as well. Lumens is also one of them. Lumens says on their website that they are dedicated to working with banks and payment services. Like they're working with IBM, who's also going to be working with banks. So the one-sided hate is very 2017. Sorry to sound stupid, but it's just exactly kind of what it is. So the main speculation has been now exactly how far does the rabbit hole go? We know for a fact that Ripple's working with the Federal Reserve. It even says it right here that they're one of the Federal Faster Payment Task Force members. We can find information back all the way to 2015. The people being on the Federal Reserve team, International Monetary Fund talking about them, the World Bank, the European Central Bank being on their side. They're partnered with 80% of all banks in India. And this was the news that we had last year, so one can assume it's at least 81% now. All the major banks in Japan. And that also doesn't even include the other non-disclosure agreements that we also probably won't hear about for like a long amount of time. One can only assume if major countries around the world are trying to get a hold on this cryptocurrency thing and they're trying to make sure that they stay ahead of the Facebook game and or the Bitcoin game, that they're probably talking with other banks around the world as well to make sure that these banks also transparency, whatever kind of word you want to use. Very fascinating. I would say that a lot of this is speculation. It's not. We know that they are working very closely together. It's just a matter of what this could potentially do for XRP sometime in the future. Always a lot of speculation. A lot of people get flustered and frustrated, myself included. I'm a person just like everybody else, and I do get frustrated with the price of XRP, but sometimes you have to really sit back and wonder when everything is going to kind of pop off, if that kind of makes any sense. At some point, the truth will be revealed and we'll know exactly what the plans were. Like things that happened in 2009, we've had documentaries on them around 2012, 13, 14 that told us exactly what this event was. So I assume in about 3-4 years, everything will become a lot clearer and we'll know even other institutions who they're actually working with. And even more so, the Ripple team has kind of, I feel like recently they've been very hush-hush with a lot of the things that they've been doing as far as the other banks that they're working with. I'm expecting some major big news relatively soon from them as to exactly what they're doing, who they're working with, and other companies who are going to also be implementing XRapid. Kind of fascinating. For some reason, once again, the XRP price doesn't react to much of this, but I think at this point, another thing that I've thought of quite for at least a couple of months, it could be the same exact thing that we saw with Bitcoin in the wider cryptocurrency space years ago. They garnered good news, had good news, tons of good news thrown on them, and the price kind of went down. And then we had indications months after that what was happening was that there were tons of people who were making sure that they were suppressing the prices and also buying up huge amounts at the exact same time. We just had news a couple of days ago about the other people who were putting in sell orders on one website for $50 million, what have you, random number. And it was causing the price to go down. But on another website, they were buying up as prices were also going down. So don't assume that there isn't any type of manipulation happening within the entire cryptocurrency space. But if there's a major investor, some rich person, some billionaire, or a handful of millionaires out there who have confirmation that in a year or two, speculation, but they may have confirmation that XRP is going to be used in the back end, or XRapid is going to be used in some sort of way between the IMF, between the Federal Reserve, between the so-and-so, between this, between India, between Japan, that they aren't actively trying to get as much XRP as possible, especially since we see so many like whale alerts and so much money is constantly, usually when we have a whale alert, it usually focuses on Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP. It's always like somebody was transferring 30,000 Bitcoin. Someone bought up $15 million worth of Ether. There was a transfer of 259 million XRP. It's always the same things over and over. And this is why, once again, people were asking yesterday in the comment section, without making an entire video for it, talking about which coins I pay attention to the most. I hold a lot of altcoins, not an enormous amount. I hold some EOS, I hold Omise Go, I hold Kin, I hold no Tron, no BitTorrent, some Litecoin, like very few other things. But what I focus on 99.9% of the time is always Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP, because too much is happening with them. Even other coins that have kind of come out talking about, oh, we're going to destroy XRP. Oh, we're so much better than Ether. We have this new update. We're 10 times faster than this, and Bitcoin is really slow. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been had all these. Had I just entered the cryptocurrency space, these things would have been relatively scary to me. But the fact that I've seen waves and waves and waves and waves of new cryptos entering the space talking about that they're better than X, Y, and Z, and they're not, and they've done nothing to them. I don't think at this point that there are many other coins that have permeated traditional finance as much as Ripple. Just my opinion, just even looking at the facts, especially from, I mean, look at the logic behind all of it. You know, they're partnered with all of them. I don't have the tab open here for the actual board members of Ripple, but you can definitely find it yourself. But yeah, enough of this topic. Obviously, we will get more information as this ends up rolling forward, especially if they are trying to do a 2020 launch. I would not be shocked in the slightest if they tried to launch this at the end of this year to make sure that this happens before Libra. Libra is going to be a gigantic bear that's going to come out slashing people. Sorry to be so graphic, but it's just really the truth. From the get-go, Libra is going to be very big. I can only imagine what the people from Facebook have planned to make sure that tons of people get Libra. It could be free giveaways. It could be discounts. It could be a million and one things. They're definitely working on something because they want to. They're already one of the largest platforms in the entire world, if not the largest. They have, what is it, 2.4 billion people on their platforms across them. Anyway, so I assume the Fed will try to roll this out relatively soon. We should hopefully then get more confirmation as to exactly which part Ripple is playing in all of this. But without further ado, let's move on. Next up, payments giant Mastercard is seeking to hire a number of blockchain professionals, including several senior roles, in an apparent effort to develop cryptocurrency and wallet products. According to the company Careers website, Mastercard is looking for a senior blockchain engineer, an engineering lead, director of product development of innovation, and I'm not reading the rest of that. Other senior roles Mastercard is looking to fill also mention expertise in the blockchain tech. For example, Vice President of Network Tech Product Management, Director of Payments Platform and Network Services, the Director of the Product Management for Cryptocurrency and Wallets, all these long titles, according to the description, will be expected to lead the ideation, definition, design, and development of innovative cryptocurrency solutions, including wallet solutions, and have experience in this field. What I find the most striking or the most interesting, for those who do not know, Facebook is creating a cryptocurrency, which we just spoke about. One of the actual leading members of this are Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, and Uber. Let me see if they have the actual number of every single company who is... Still nope. Okay, they don't have the entire list. I think as of right now, I believe that we know 27 different companies who are backing Facebook's Libra. I was surprised in the very beginning by the names Visa and Mastercard, but it's fairly obvious. We had this news a couple of weeks ago, but this ties directly into this. The most interesting part is that it was Visa and Mastercard as one of the head names. And I said, why would they be doing that? And I'm like, oh, because they're probably failing. They probably can't update their systems or create a new system quick enough to be able to keep up with Libra and or Bitcoin and or XRP or any other coin that's kind of out there. So it makes a lot of sense that they would have joined with this. The really weird part, and I think a lot about these things in my normal daily crypto life, is exactly how big that this is going to become. I believe there was a speech. I'm not sure if I really can't even tell you. I'm not sure if it was a speech, a podcast, a documentary, what it was. My life is blending into one gigantic pile of mush at the moment, where they were discussing the actual implications of Libra and how big it could possibly become. If you have major names who are backing this, I wish they had a larger list of the names of the companies. The entire idea was, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, PayPal is also one of these. I think Uber and Lyft are also part of it as well. If you get to a point where the major payment companies, Mastercard, Visa, and PayPal, are backing Libra, that means they probably plan on integrating Libra potentially at some point onto their platforms or using it as a payment option, which it also leads us to a very dangerous place, because it also kind of leads us down that road of, what if these major companies, people working at Mastercard, people working at Visa, people working at Facebook, people working at Uber, people working at anywhere, PayPal, they get paid in Libra. You have a payment option. Imagine having a payment option on eBay that you could pay in Libra. Imagine a payment option that when you're receiving money on PayPal, it can be converted into Libra. Imagine when you're buying stuff on eBay, you can just use your Libra. It creates an entire ecosystem that is surrounded by Libra. And I feel like this is kind of what's going to happen. I think it would be really weird if these major companies are just backing it. There's also a lot of speculation that Uber and Lyft can also have something. You know, you get into one of their self-driving cars next year, and it says, how do you want to pay? And for the first 2 years, you know, you have the option of paying in the US dollar or the euro or the pound. And there's another option on your phone that says, do you want to pay in Libra? If you pay in Libra, you get a 15% discount. I'd rather just pay in Libra. Well, my job is also paying me in Libra. They're also giving me a 5% bonus because I work for Mastercard. You see how weird and how quickly this could possibly get out of hand? So it makes sense that Mastercard would try to move into the, not only the cryptocurrency space, but the building of cryptocurrency wallets. It's just a matter of how big this kind of becomes. I think this is all going to be a lot larger than we can possibly begin to imagine. I was chatting with a friend yesterday. I don't think he watches my channel yet. Maybe hello if you are. And we were discussing how big this is all going to become in about a year or two. I think a lot of people are focused on your life, obviously. I mean, I was going to say focusing on their lives. I get, you know, people have things going on, but as far as financially, something, we're on the edge of something, and it's very, very weird. Years ago, there was no discussion about cryptocurrencies, about faster payments, about making things easier for customers, about cryptocurrency wallets, about major names getting into the cryptocurrency space. Understand how significant that it is that the largest names in finance are creating cryptocurrency wallets, that the people who control money around the world are integrating cryptocurrencies into their payment options. I think this slips the mind of a lot of people, and I see people constantly focusing on, why is the price so low? Why is the price not moving? I'm well beyond that at this point, and it's more like I sit here in awe every single day with the news that we have, and the fact that anyone could be bearish at all on anything crypto related is very, very weird. It's fairly obvious that Ripple is working with the largest institutions in the entire world. It's fairly obvious that Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, oh gosh, what was it, Whole Foods? It was 27 major names. Like you use these names every single day. You see them at least 16 times during the course of a week, who are all backing Facebook, who's also about, what is it, 10, 12 years old? Their new cryptocurrency, and just everything is launching either the end of this year or next year. We are going to live in a very different world. Imagine if our stock markets and all the other stuff crash or continue to go down, or confidence in the market is lost and people start looking for another way to put their money. There's so much money behind all of these companies that they can easily corral people and say, well, you know, the stock market's not doing too well, but our company has seen an extensive amount of profits investing in Bitcoin, investing in XRP, and investing in Ether. And so, and it's so simple for them to do. And I always wonder what's happening behind the scenes, because the only exposure that I have to cryptocurrencies is reading the news, listening to podcasts, watching documentaries, listening to Andreas Antonopoulos talk, and talking to friends. I'm not in these really crazy backroom meetings, but it's clear that something extensive is going to take place in the relative future. We've been, for those of you who have not heard anything about this years ago, I remember in 2015, 2014, year 2020 has been expected for a very long time to be this seismic shift in everything that we do, even from the fact that I was watching a TED Talk one time and this guy was saying, so many people don't see what's coming. He said by 2020, the cost of a microchip will be 1 cent. He said every time that people continue, as technology gets cheaper and becomes more affordable for everything and the cost of it continues to go lower, he said by the time a microchip costs 1 cent, it leads us into a world where we can have wallpaper that completely lights up because it's very cheap to make. And he said, imagine in 2024, when the cost of a microchip is 1/10 of a cent. He said it leads us to a world where we can have, these gloves that light up, and when we open our hand, we can make calls on them. And it's all these really crazy things, and it's here. It's very odd to think, like waiting for something for a very long time, and then you finally get it, and you don't really know what to do. And even on all of this, no one could have predicted years ago that these are huge. Visa and Mastercard is working with Facebook on their cryptocurrency to run nodes while at the same exact time creating a cryptocurrency wallet. No one could have expected years ago. I'm certain 5 years ago, people probably thought that Visa and Mastercard would never disappear. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point over the next 5 to 10 years, Visa and Mastercard disappear, or they simply get absorbed into Facebook, or they create their own consortium of something, or especially when they're creating cryptocurrency wallets or things to develop cryptocurrency, the cryptocurrency projects. Like, what does that do for the coins that we already have? Like, how much more will they then permeate into normal society? What happens when the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ and Fidelity and TD Ameritrade and blah, 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 and the German Stock Exchange, the Swiss Stock Exchange start integrating cryptocurrencies, or have already started integrating cryptocurrencies, which all are going to launch before the end of this year, before 2020. How do you keep up as a major name then? How do you make sure that MasterCard remains a household name? You create a cryptocurrency wallet and you integrate Libra and Bitcoin and Litecoin and XRP and Ether. Do you see how massive all of this is? Like, every day, it's just constantly surprising me how the fact that it's not on traditional news outlets, I get that. We know for a fact, and people know for a fact, and you should all know for a fact, that a lot of the people who are the wealthiest individuals in the world, they own multiple different news outlets. And one can only assume, if we've had news that the Rockefellers are getting into cryptocurrencies, that there are major companies and countries buying up massive amounts of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, that they probably don't want to air this out to everyone and tell them, hey, we're also buying, you should buy some too. You can also be as rich as we are. It's kind of how the rich mindset works. But the fact that people in the cryptocurrency space don't put this into perspective always surprises me. I don't think it won't for a very long time surprise me that people get news like this and they can be bearish or think, well, I think I'm going to sell my stuff. Well, I'm not really. I think cryptos, I think it's the dead end. And I read some comments sometimes and I don't know if they're trolls. I don't know if it's just people trying to get other people to sell their coins, but it's like, we are part of the new economic system. We luckily found all of these things, all of these coins before billions of other people. Do you understand how significant that is? That we have fragments of these coins, that we may own 5 Litecoin, that we may own 3 Ethereum before anybody else? How major that is, especially for this new, I dare not say new world order, new world economic system that is being developed and growing right in front of our eyes. Without spending too much time on that, hope you get what I'm saying. It's incredible. It's very, very odd. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, eToro, a United Kingdom-based exchange and social network for investors and traders, has rolled out trading support for Tezos a couple days ago. As eToro tweeted today, Tezos, the 16th top cryptocurrency by market cap, is now available for trading on the platform. According to the press release, Tezos has become the 15th crypto to join eToro, following Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, Bcash, Litecoin, Ether Classic, Dash, Stellar, Neo, EOS, Cardano, IOTA, Zcash, and Tron. eToro co-founder and CEO Yoni Assia said that Tezos is making progress, stressing that some banks are already choosing the Tezos blockchain to issue security token offerings. Cool. Wonderful. I have wondered, how do I put this into words? Tezos kind of appeared out of nowhere and got a lot more support than I thought it was going to get after coming out of nowhere. After, I think, Coinbase added them, people started going crazy for Tezos. And then for some reason, when Coinbase announced that they were going to be listing Cardano, blah, 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 this coin, that coin, and then they didn't, but they announced that they were going, I'm pretty sure that Coinbase has like a staking service for Tezos. I wonder exactly, I don't know, what's happening behind the scenes. Everyone has, not everyone, most large economic companies have an ulterior motive. And I assume the motive for EToro was just simply to add Tezos because they want the money that's being pumped into Tezos as the price keeps on going higher. But it always leads you to kind of scratch your head and go like, what's the deeper meaning behind this? Why not list other staking coins beforehand? But for some reason, Tezos is being pumped by Coinbase quite often. Anyway, that's just my speculative mind. I think I'm too, what's the word? Not cautious. I'm always like looking at someone with a shifty eye, wondering if they have something else planned. Anyway, let's move on. To kind of finish things off, a new fintech law issued by the Bank of Mexico, Banxico, clashes with the accelerated growth of fintech activity in the country. The resulting crackdown could force the closure of 201 startups, according to the national media. The law, passed in 2018 but only recently enforced, targets crowdfunding and electronic payment services. Over 57% of them are currently battling against time to obtain permission to do business from the National Banking and Securities Commission. I'm so tired of all these commissions and all these banking things and having to ask for permission to start something. You know how ridiculous that is? You know how much easier it would just simply be to say, we're going to do this, like just stand over our shoulder as we do this, as opposed to wasting a year and some change to apply for permission to launch? One of the biggest barriers for entrepreneurs in the high costs required for compliance, which can, oh my gosh, which can reach well over $35,000. The law also demands businesses to have a minimum annual profit of $100,000, some things few startups can achieve. Remember when I was always talking about countries who are going to be left behind and it's going to be very sad in a couple of years? You know how, I'm trying to choose my words nicely, how ridiculous it is to tell someone you have to pay us $35,000 to get paperwork, to get permission to be able to do so, and you have to at least make $100,000 as a startup. The entrepreneurs are also subject to a cryptocurrency ban. Oh my Lord. A recent version of the regulation banned fintechs from exchanging, transmitting, and holding crypto. Mexico's regulators' initial attempts at managing cryptocurrencies have changed drastically since it began the regulation process, according to Josu San Martin, ex-director at the Secretary of Finance and former director of Fintech Mexico. The bar was set too high. At first they were aiming for an open, inclusive regulation. At the end, the law came out very restrictive, especially for cryptocurrencies, and to the point where an exchange can't work under the Mexican law. That's a cryptocurrency exchange can't exchange, transmit, or hold crypto. I don't know why countries do this to themselves, why they do this to other people. I still tip my hat. I don't wear hats. I think it was it Barbados? Was it Bermuda? It was some island country around that region. To Switzerland, to, oh gosh, what's the other one? It's not Monaco. I can't remember the name. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That other rich country in Europe. That they've at least welcomed cryptocurrency with one open arm. That they've made sure that the barriers aren't too high. That there are no restrictions on stuff like this. Why is it that wealthy countries make sure that they get the cryptocurrency startups to them first? Oh, even Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is also one of the countries where they made sure, like, what is it? I think you pay 0% capital gains tax on your crypto if you decide to sell. Like what, why don't other countries follow this same exact thing? How difficult is the word I'll use must it be for government leaders to realize that this is the new financial system and still make sure that companies have a difficult time getting into their country to do these things? Can you imagine how, even if it was just Mexico City, they said, okay, you know, the regulatory sandbox, Mexico City. If people just within Mexico City had only 2% tax on cryptocurrency, whatever they were doing, or they said, you know, we're going to offer 100 new licenses per year, and for the first 5 years, you pay no taxes, which is the same exact thing that other European, I think it was some Eastern European country, they were like, yeah, for the next 5 years, if you're a cryptocurrency country, you have no taxes. Why don't countries pay attention? How I'm using my words nicely. How ridiculous do you have to be to not understand that you could imagine being a country and being like, oh my gosh, we can make so much money from this. Tell everyone they can come here. We'll give them visas. We'll give them so and so and so. Just prove this, prove that, prove so and so and so, and you pay no taxes on so and so. It's how much money you could get. And then the articles that would come out saying Mexico is the hotspot for cryptocurrencies. While America has taken its time with regulation, Mexico has been the greatest so and so and so. And how much money would flow into the country? How many people around the world, when looking for new homes to buy, will go, well, I'm not taxed when I buy something with my crypto there. Do you want to buy some beachfront property? Do you want to buy some land? Do you want to buy it? Just, I don't get it. I want to say it's because of them trying to maintain the status quo as far as like not giving up power. Like we've seen other countries trying to do when they come to banning cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. But you can't ban crypto. You can't stop the movement. So why not just join the wave? Or even more so, just make sure that you have control over the wave. Make sure that every single thing that happens within that country when it comes to cryptocurrency transactions, that goes through you. Simple. I don't get it. Anyway, little frustrated, as you can maybe tell by my voice. I find it very, very odd that there are so many countries who are going to not even be left behind. They're going to be left kilometers behind because they just don't get it. They're not really playing nice isn't even the word that I'm trying to use. You know exactly what I'm trying to say. Anyway, let's move on. The news of the hour, as it were, is that a day ago, the people from Tether printed 100 million Tether, and people think that this is what actually caused the price of Bitcoin to move up about a good 32.5 hours ago. Typically, what we've seen before in the past is that whenever Tether prints Tether, Bitcoin usually reacts in a very positive way. The speculation for a while has been is that whenever Tether prints Tether, they're using it, or at least a fraction of it. So is the idea that they use that to actually buy up Bitcoin, and this is what causes the price to move up. No one knows how true this is or how false this is. A lot of speculation has been running rampant over the last year or so. But this is what happened, and this is what caused the price to move up about a day and some change ago. The same exact time, Bitcoin went over $12,000. I'm pretty sure we all saw this. It was a major moment. A lot of people were very happy, especially because if you remember, I don't even know what day is today. It's Tuesday. No, Wednesday. Anyway, the point is, on Monday, the speculation was that by this week, we could see a Bitcoin price of $15,000. And I was like, I'm not going to really hold my breath. We hit $12,000 again. People were like, here we are. We're on our way. Then yesterday, there was a Bitcoin flash crash that caused Bitcoin to go down by several hundred. Depending on where you look, it's at $650, $700, $800. Push it under $12,000 within a couple of minutes. We've known before, and if you've been here since at least, I will say March, we've had a lot of we've had a lot of things like this happen over the last 4 months, and after they happen, Usually a day or two later, we get news that this was coordinated. So I'm going to assume that this is also coordinated and that this was definitely not random. A lot of people think that Bitcoin looks like or has been poising itself to make the start of another fantastic bull run. Every time that Bitcoin goes down, it keeps bouncing off of a number and then kind of starts moving its way back up. A part of this, people think that there are people, or we know that there are people, we've read about them many times before, are trying to push the price of Bitcoin down on certain exchanges to be able to buy up that cryptocurrency on other exchanges. I'm going to assume that there probably wasn't a global consensus that Bitcoin was overvalued at 12,000 and therefore needed to go down. I'm going to assume in the day or two, probably later on today, that we're going to get some type of information that Bitcoin was pushed down by a whale. What we have before us is unlike anything that I've ever seen. I got into cryptocurrencies around 2013. I did not expect global adoption like this so quickly. I think a lot of the richest people and even the unrichest people on the planet are realizing slowly, or maybe rapidly, exactly what's happening with all these things around the world. We've had many indications that there are tons of heavy-handed investors who are buying up large amounts of Bitcoin. And I think we're setting ourselves up for something that we could have never expected. This is why we're getting, there was something else. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on a video a couple of days ago, maybe even a couple of weeks ago, where someone was discussing like stock to flow ratio and actual Bitcoin adoption and actual Bitcoin this and Bitcoin so-and-so and how many people in the network and how many people are so-and-so and how the current projections of where they think that this is all going to go. And this is why we get those numbers of a 25,000, a 50,000, or a potential $100,000 Bitcoin this year. This is where we get into those numbers of $250,000 over the next 2 years. There are multiple people. I'll try and find the exact article so you see what I'm talking about, but I've seen some of them. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about some of them as well. We are at the moment in Bitcoin's history where people keep trying to push it down below $10,000. I don't know if it's for negative news or what they could be potentially trying to do, but every time Bitcoin rebounds and starts shooting its way back up. If Bitcoin does in fact even just double this year, that'll mean that Bitcoin from where it is now, Bitcoin will have gone up $22,000 over the course of a 12-month period. There was an article, I closed it earlier. I was going to discuss it. There were a couple of articles a day or two ago, and this is what I find the most fascinating. There were a number of articles from traditional markets or traditional financial outlets, whatever you want to call them, where they were talking about how great gold was because gold had gone up by 1%. And this 1% rise in gold showed exactly how strong gold was in the face of weakening economic so-and-so and economic tensions and governments not liking each other and the devaluation of so-and-so and so. And I sat there thinking, I was like, there's a reason. I think people would lose their minds if more people realize exactly the money that they could make from the cryptocurrency space and exactly how much money they could make from Bitcoin. I'm certain, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, all of this is part of some larger something of manipulation. There's people, you have to keep in mind that there are millions of millionaires. At least 5% of them understand what's happening in the cryptocurrency space, and they're trying to make sure that they fill their pockets as much as possible. You cannot have an asset that started this year out at $3,000 and someone else, whether a banker, a so-and-so, an analyst, whatever they do, tell you you can buy this thing for $3,000. It might hit $30,000 this year, and our 10-year projections show that it could hit anywhere from $500,000 to $10 million. Rich people are definitely a part of this market, a lot more than I think other people are really paying attention to. I think we're going to keep having a lot more of these pushdowns. I've never felt that they were organic, and I remember mentioning last year and even this year that every time that we have a pushdown, it never really seems correct. It's never that the market is going down over the course of a 24-hour period, even a 12-hour or a 6-hour period. It's always a dramatic drop. Always. Remember 3 weeks ago, I think when Bitcoin was around, what was it, 12, 13,000, and it was trying to move up. And right as it was getting near 14,000, there was a huge drop. And then it kept on going sideways. These are orchestrated. I don't know exactly how much longer they're going to go on, how much more they're trying to accumulate, but everyone has a number in their head of how much that they want. I guess that's all I have to really say on that topic. The main point is that whenever Bitcoin goes down, I notice a lot of people do get worried. Don't be worried. Or rather, I can't tell you not to be worried. It's impossible. Everyone worries about something. And I could worry about something. You can tell me not to be worried, and I'll look at you like you're crazy. I'm like, I have to be worried about this. What happens is that major players understand, whether it be something as simple as the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are integrating cryptocurrencies into their platform, that this is going to be huge. If you read between the lines or just simply look at the tabs or other videos that I've made, the money behind the scenes is incomprehensible. I'm pretty sure that's a word. To really even fathom how much money is actually out there. Do you know how much money people are going to make off of cryptocurrencies? How much money people have made off of cryptocurrencies? How much more money they're going to continue to make? It's very fascinating that, and I get annoyed a lot when this news that we have isn't on normal financial outlets or traditional news outlets. Do you know how many normal people would rush to get into the cryptocurrency space if they knew that they could even just double their money by the end of this year? I was talking with someone and he was saying, how crazy is it that we were talking about Bitcoin and it was floating around $12,000. At the beginning of this year, it was 3,000. How many people, if they had not even been told or had been discussed on the news that Bitcoin could have potentially gone from $3,000 to $6,000, how many people would have jumped on it? Bitcoin's price has gone, was it threefold, fourfold? Just with people in the cryptocurrency space buying up Bitcoin and fragments of it. Imagine when we have hundreds of millions of people who are pushed into the cryptocurrency space, who find out about Libra, who download the Mastercard app and they see that Bitcoin is an option, or they can transfer their Libra into Bitcoin. It's going to be wonderful. And it's more of a waiting game at this point. But so far, everything from major analysts has relatively come true. As far as the actual usage and adoption, a large part of that we've actually far out surpassed, and I think we're going to continue to do so. But as far as even the future price movements, I remember hearing people talking about last year that Bitcoin would eventually hit $50,000, and it seems a little, even going back further years ago, I remember people talking about that Bitcoin would hit $1 million, and you kind of sit there and go, well, I don't think that's really possible. And you get, it's just a really weird thing to think about. I can't really even put it into words, that we're in this space, that we are watching the growth and building of this new financial payment system, and how much more adoption that we're going to get. By the end of this year, I'm expecting very big things. I'm really expecting a seismic shift. I think it appears if the markets, the traditional markets, continue to not do well, I think Bitcoin will do very well. If, and I'm going to say if, just to, you know, not raise any hopes, if Bakkt and the New York Stock Exchange and Fidelity and TD Ameritrade all launch this year, like they all said they were going to do in Q3, not getting anyone's hopes up, we're going to see a major boost in Bitcoin's price, and also the actual usage of the coin, the daily volume, and the amount of people who are hearing about it on a daily basis. By the time Bitcoin is nearing $20,000 again, it's going to be on traditional outlets again. They're going to be talking about how close Bitcoin is to its previous all-time high, and can it go any higher? I don't know. A lot more that I could say, but for the sake of my sanity and not talking for another 3.5 hours, let's move on. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Mechanic, Anthony Charles, Nick Mangialavori, Arthur Yaku, Minting Coins, Jim Gardner, Jeremy the Photographer, Tom Sucks at Basketball and Sam Skips Leg Day, Paxis, Vlad the Impaler, RF Dusty, Richie Rich the Third, Nick Kanaya, Setsuna, Nicholas Runner with One Piece One Love, Crypto Artist Coldy 3D, Clara T. Snowden, Jeffrey Ramsey, Amy Starsheen, Yasha Harari, Rai Rai, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Carl Borchanoff, Mohair Maroney, Crypto Joe, Wise Night Owl, Jared Schneider, L. Doug, Brady Niels, Crypto and Beer Shipmate, Adobo, Assam M. El Zofri, My Keto Kitchen, Triple M and J, 242 to the World, Cryptopolis, Banking Ventures, nope, that's wrong, Master Ventures in Thailand, Bankroll Network, Damien, Milouise, Strange Radio Central, and Professor Wally from Gunbot University. Thank you all very much for your support. At the moment, for those who are not looking at the screen, Bitcoin is already close to recovering from kind of the ridiculousness that we had before. This was completely in the red before. It was, I think, 5-6% down. Bitcoin is currently at $11,600. I assume with the market looking like it's moving itself up, we could see a potential recovery relatively soon. We are not that far off from $12,000. Bitcoin has made major moves before over the course of a couple of hours that I've seen us push back over the rise by $300. That's kind of the easiest way of saying it. A lot of people think Litecoin is one of the, I don't want to say one of the worst performings, but it's not performing that well at the moment. I think a lot of the hype of the halving has gone down. I think we may recuperate some of that as time ends up going on. But as of right now, I think a lot of the, it was like a firework, but it didn't really pop and it kind of just fizzled. I think Litecoin will be okay in the future. I think a lot of people are just, and I really mean this, I think a lot of people are just focused on so many other coins. I personally have felt like for a long amount of time that the Litecoin team hasn't really marketed themselves the same way other coins have. Even just as far as, I don't know, it could be anything, as far as the Ripple team has done, or integrating or implementing new features on top of Litecoin to make them stick out as much as Ether does, or I don't know. So it kind of is what it is. I mean, can't really stop it. It could just be a normal market move. No other coin is really doing spectacularly well or worse than any other coin, except for that one. But when people get upset for some reason, and I mean, people are going to continue, so continue if you will. People get upset when a coin, a random coin, is on the screen and it goes up by 22%, and I don't talk about it, and they go, man, blah, 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 disservice to your loyal followers. You should be talking about this coin. It's amazing. And I make sure not to say anything about it because I know the very next day it's going to go down just like this by 13%. 24-hour volume, $39 million. While that would be great to have that in my bank account, as far as 24-hour volume across the entire world for cryptocurrency, it's nothing. So sometimes there are random coins that do shoot up. Don't fall into the hype because you probably should not be owning these coins in the first place. If you've never heard about it, if you read their website and it sounds exactly like what Bitcoin does, or they say that they are any coin that claims, first of all, you want to tell the difference between a good coin and a bad coin, or a coin that could potentially be good, is if you read their website and they don't boast about being better than Bitcoin, being better than Ethereum, we're the competitor to Ripple, where there's any coin like that over the years, they've all disappeared. They've all become dust. No one pays attention to them. No one uses them. $8 million volume, $18 million volume. Say what you want, say what you will. Never, ever, ever, never forget. These are all machines. These are all code. They can all be updated and upgraded to do the same exact thing that other coins do. So make sure before you buy any altcoin that you always remember in the back of your head, Bitcoin is also a computer, is also code, is also a machine, and can be upgraded with the same exact things that all these other coins have that you think are quicker, stronger, faster, more amazing. If you think that people behind the scenes aren't throwing as much energy as possible to update Bitcoin to be able to do at least 15,000 transactions per second on other chains and other layers, you are sorely mistaken. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. $1 million volume. Hope you all have a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all. I was looking out the window, forgot my words. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.